What's up, YouTube? I'm Mike, and today is unfortunately a very sad day for me. This is a day that I have suspected was coming for a long time, but I have been experiencing my own confirmation bias. I've spoken about this a few times recently on my channel. One of the major problems that plagues human beings on this planet is confirmation bias. When we were talking about this with the ketogenic diet, which is what I'm actually talking about again today, in one of my previous videos, I showed you how, like, if you look up, does high-fat diet cause this? It'll say yes. Does high-carb diet cause this? Yes. It's very easy to confirm or deny whatever you already think about the world around you, because there's so many studies done from so many angles that it's very easy to pretty much confirm anything you think. So if you want to be a believer of the ketogenic diet, you can find tons of websites that will tout all of the supposed advantages of this diet. But if you're like me and you craft your, you type, is keto healthy? Is keto sustainable? Is keto good for children? You will just get a laundry list of studies, articles, doctors, people just very adamantly speaking out against the use of this diet for any length of time. And so unfortunately, the confirmation bias that I have been suffering through for the past possibly many months now has been the confirmation bias that my friend, a person I do consider to be a friend, who has helped my wife and I considerably with various medical situations that I've gotten into, has sort of guided me or given me advice with cycle problems, all kinds of medical things. You guys know who this is. This is my buddy Kovalser that I've talked about many times on this channel. Unfortunately, over the course of the last few months, I have started to notice that he and I are sort of splitting ways when it comes to a lot of factors. This is something that I should have recognized a very long time ago when he first proposed that I used mint. One of the single dumbest compounds ever conceived of. I honestly have used almost every popular steroid hormone out there. Boldenone being one of the big names that I have never tried. I have used almost everything that is out there, and mint is by far, without a doubt, the single worst compound that I have ever used. Even if you take all of the other things in my cycle out of the situation that could have been tainting that experiment, mint by itself, just like D-ball, in my estimation, is effectively useless for bodybuilding. D-ball, especially in the context that I use drugs. I use drugs for long-term periods of time. Not these little, like you can take D-ball for 6 weeks and maybe be okay if you don't care about growing breasts and being a water balloon. You can run mint for a short period of time if you don't care about the fact that it is going to convert into 17-alpha-methylestradiol that you cannot test for, and is going to give you every single conceivable estrogenic side effect known to man. And with both of these drugs, D-ball and mint, the biggest limiting factor is that it is effectively impossible to run them long-term in any kind of reasonable bodybuilding context, because if you use doses sufficient enough to even warrant their use. So like Kovalser loves to yammer on about how, mint is like 5,000 to 1 times more anabolic than this or that. Who cares? Who cares? Trenbolone is substantially more anabolic than testosterone. But just running trenbolone-only cycles at low doses is not going to produce any appreciable muscle. That's the big thing with bodybuilding, is that it's not like there's some magic pill or injectable that you can run one time and turn into Arnold Schwarzenegger or Jay Cutler or Ronnie Coleman. These guys that even me, I'm cut, we'll just go with my pre-cut weight. Even me up at 214 pounds, I was only able to get there by running thousands and thousands of milligrams over the course of 5 years of gear. Trenbolone, high trenbolone doses, testosterone doses, all of this. So even if you were going to try to use mint, to argue that 10 milligrams of mint that you may or may not be able to tolerate without totally wrecking your estrogen profile is 500 times or 5,000 times more anabolic than this or that, it's still not going to add up to anything useful in a bodybuilding context. And all of the cons massively outweigh the positives. So even trenbolone is incredibly androgenic and anabolic. It's like supposedly 501. I don't even buy into all these ratios and bullshit. Because at the end of the day, this is an absolute marathon. There's no miracle quick route to building an amazing physique. It takes tens of thousands of milligrams of gear and tons of years of consistent dosing and training and eating and all of that to grow any kind of muscle onto your body. Now, if you're a guy like Kovalser, who's 6'1", 205 pounds with 16-inch arms, and that's as big as you want to get in life, then yeah, maybe running some tiny dose of mint and some tiny dose of a handful of other anabolics while also running like 15 different ancillary drugs. You got a statin in there, we got berberine, we got, basically everything that Vigorous Steve recommends is what Kovalser runs, which is what I'm starting to figure out. Kovalser to me is transitioning from this person who I thought was a well-educated guy who had a grip on both the medical community and the bodybuilding community, and it just every day that goes by, it just seems to be that he's just a Vigorous Steve parrot acolyte. If I was to agree to run all of the ancillaries that he has recommended over the course of the last 6 months, I would be on like 20 different drugs. It's insane. And the thing that I don't understand, and this is something that's been joked about quite a bit on my channel, when somebody comes along and starts going, well, Mike, I don't think running 100 milligrams of trenbolone for 3 years is a good thing to do for your health. Well, no shit. No part of my channel has been about longevity. So why I have someone who is persistently recommending all of these insane, to me, what I think are insane treatment modalities from this like prophylactic fucking standpoint, which is unfortunately, in my estimation, the downfall of every doctor on earth. Every doctor on earth, everybody who has MD in front of their name, is basically starting out the steroid game with one foot in the toilet, because their objective is always preventing problems. That's the whole key of being a doctor. How can I help you to live as long as possible? How can I help you to not develop cancer, to not develop diabetes, to not develop atherosclerosis or whatever? Like the objective of medicine is to prevent damage, and then if you go out and damage yourself, is to correct it. And see, that has always been the usefulness of Kovalser to me. I'm gonna go do whatever I'm gonna do, and he's been very good at helping me to try to offset, correct, or mitigate damage that I've done to my body. But now it's trespassed into this place that's kind of bizarre. So you've got on the one hand, insane suggestions to me. Like I was complaining about Cialis causing me heartburn. So rather than saying, hey Mike, stop taking Cialis, it's causing you heartburn, because I don't have these heartburn problems unless I'm on Cialis. So the obvious conclusion here is you didn't have a heartburn problem before you started taking Cialis. You started taking Cialis, now you have heartburn, stop taking Cialis. But Cialis is one of the many drugs that he seems to be very pro somebody taking, even if they don't need it for what it's prescribed for. So even if you don't have ED, Kovalser is very pro Cialis for heart reasons. Okay, so rather than say, hey, stop taking the Cialis, this man actually recommended to me a video about how a lot of people who have heartburn misunderstand the reason they have heartburn. They assume it's because they have too much stomach acid, and so they take something like a proton pump inhibitor, which was in fact helping me. And when the actual problem is that they don't have enough stomach acid. So there are completely insane lunatics out there who are recommending that people take betaine hydrochloride, which is an ingestible form, I guess, of hydrochloric acid. It increases the amount of hydrochloric acid in your stomach so that your stomach can then better break down the food that you put in it. So the stomach effectively acidifies food and minces it up and then passes it into the duodenum, into your large intestine, to be then absorbed and broken down further. The catch to this is that the stomach and the duodenum are like two opposites. They're like a positive and negative side of a magnet. They operate in two totally different ways. So the stomach requires hydrochloric acid in order to do its job. But the hydrochloric acid, once it passes into the duodenum, will actually eat up the lining of the large intestine. So when you have a normally functioning body, you have hydrochloric acid that acidifies your food, passes it into the duodenum where your pancreas and your gallbladder then secrete things that neutralize the acid so that you don't destroy your intestinal tract. Ulcers are caused when you have too much acid in your intestinal tract. One of the other things that can happen to you if you ingest betaine hydrochloride by itself is that it can cause explosive diarrhea, because when this acid gets into your intestinal tract, the body pushes a whole bunch of water in there trying to get rid of it so that you don't destroy your intestine. So in order to effectively use betaine hydrochloride, you have to then take more drugs to get your pancreas and your gallbladder to keep up with the extra acid that's now being added to your intestinal tract. So you need more neutralizing components, whatever the bile and whatever comes from the gallbladder, to neutralize the stomach acid in the food so that you don't get duodenal ulcers or explosive diarrhea. So this is what he recommended that I look into, is adding betaine hydrochloride plus more crap to get my pancreas and my gallbladder to keep up with these additions so that I don't have a whole host of problems that could actually lead to death or incredible misery. What? Okay, this is the definition of insanity. When all I had to do and have done is stop taking the Cialis and the heartburn goes away. But we have a whole army of people who are out here taking betaine hydrochloride because they've convinced themselves that they don't have enough stomach acid. Where this insanity comes from, I don't know. But this is one of the ludicrous things that he has been recommending to people. This is a video, I believe, he posted on the Discord. Then I had a case where I started having low blood pressure, okay, where I was having symptoms of low blood pressure while taking telmisartan. So obviously, if you're taking an ARB to lower your blood pressure and then you stop using 2 grams of gear, and so your blood pressure comes back down to a normal range, except it goes low, obviously what you want to do is remove the telmisartan. But when I said that, he's like, oh, well, I would really like for you to not take the telmisartan out because it's good to protect against cardio remodeling. Who gives a shit? Cardio remodeling? Number one, I personally think this is a fairy tale. Maybe this happens to long-term bodybuilders, using 10,000 milligrams a week of gear. I just got through having a CT scan of my thoracic cavity, and I do not have any cardio remodeling. So I don't suspect that I'm going to continue running these drugs for much longer in life, certainly not the doses that I'm using. And so all of this prophylactic medicine to try to prevent all these maybe, possibly, could be, maybe down the road somewhere conditions is completely asinine to me. You've got him recommending statins to lower HDL, LDL, which of course I now find out is probably due to the fact that he's a ketard. So where this came to a head recently was on my video titled Response to the Enhanced Carnivore, where I had made the argument that you cannot avoid calories in, calories out. I don't care what diet you eat. You cannot escape the truth of if you ingest more calories than you burn, then you will gain weight. If you burn more calories than you ingest, you will lose weight. And this was Kovalser's response to that video. I'm not going to read the entire comment because it's a book, but I'm going to read part of it. If you want to see the comment, it is still up on my video titled Response to the Enhanced Carnivore. Kovalser says, and being water soluble, ketones are lost in the urine. So excessive calories can and do exit the body without being burned for fuel or stored as fat. Fat storage of excess calories is also impaired by very low insulin levels. This is why urine strips can be useful to check for ketosis. At the same time, there is always sufficient insulin to prevent ketoacidosis, save for those with type 1 diabetes who, by the way, should not use keto. Drink lots of water on a ketogenic diet as the body will shut down conversion of fats to ketones if serum concentration gets too high from dehydration. The calories in, calories out paradigm therefore does not hold in this setting. Holy shit. When I read this, honestly, I basically lost every amount of respect that I had for this guy prior to this, to reading this. This is the biggest bag of nutbaggery. So let me unpack this for you in the way that I see this. And it's the way that I responded to him in the comment section. I hoped that I had misunderstood what he was saying. Unfortunately, I have not. So basically what we have here is a situation where if you go on the ketogenic diet, you can ingest more calories than your body is either burning or storing because some of them are literally pissed out of the body. The analogy that I gave him was that this is equivalent to drilling a hole, like a tiny little hole in the fuel tank of your car, and then pretending like the fact that you got fewer miles per gallon out of the same 13 gallons that you were putting into your fuel tank before you put a hole in it was some kind of victory. All you succeeded in doing is making your body less efficient than it was before. So you are literally celebrating a diet that has you flushing money down the toilet for the express purpose of you being able to shovel more shit into your face than your body needs. So rather than actually treat the problem, which is that you eat more calories than you need to sustain yourself, we're going to go on a diet that allows you to eat in excess of calories because some of them are just going to be flushed down the toilet. So I could not believe what I was reading. Food costs in this country have doubled in the last 4 years. And some apparently not small portion of my audience is taking the hard-earned money that they have and then spending it on food that then they have to take the time to prepare and then eat, only to have some portion of that just be flushed right out of the body. This, to me, is even dumber than getting fat. If you were on a normal diet like me and you ate in excess of calories, including carbohydrates, and your body stored it as fat, then at a bare minimum, you haven't wasted anything. Right now, I'm on a cut. I believe I'm down 6 pounds now. Every one of the pounds that I have lost is basically like money I had in the bank. It was calories I put in the bank when I was eating in a surplus. I ate more calories than I needed to survive, and my body tucked those calories away for a rainy day. Imagine if you put a grizzly bear on keto. He wouldn't survive the winter. The whole point of the body storing excess calories in the form of adipose tissue is because we are animals that did not evolve to live in a society where we have grocery stores on every corner. So the body is designed to survive in periods of the absence of calories. So if you can only get a meal or two here and there, you eat a bunch of food, you store the extra away as fat, and that sustains you when you can't find food. This is how basically every animal on earth survived. Well, not every animal, somebody's gonna try to get on me there. Not every animal, but effectively this is how the mammals survive. Okay, so we're gonna celebrate a diet that basically shortcuts the system for the express purpose of you not actually solving the problem. The problem is not carbohydrates. It's never been carbohydrates. Haven't you noticed how over time the problem macro has changed? Used to, it was that you were eating too much fat, because fat has 9 calories per gram, which, hello, that's way more calories than 1 gram of carbs. 1 gram of... I have made so many videos recently that I actually filled an entire memory card on my camera. So what I was saying is that what our society has chosen to demonize seems to change with the wind. There was a period of time where they said, oh, everybody's fat because they're eating too much fat. Fat has 9 calories per gram versus carbohydrates that have 4 calories per gram. Now they've switched and they're like, no, carbs are the enemy. Now we need to go keto diet. For some period of time, milk will be the enemy. Then it'll be eggs. Then eggs will be good. Cholesterol's good. Cholesterol's bad. Cholesterol you're increasing your cholesterol by what you eat. Then they say, oh, well, actually your diet doesn't affect your cholesterol. They can never make up their fucking minds about human health because for part of the reasons, because everybody's health is different. That's the other problem that I have with people like this person who want to tell somebody like me who has never been fat a day in his life to go on a diet that is basically useless for anything other than burning fat. Every single thing that you will read from any medical journal, any source that is not basically trying to sell you on the ketogenic diet will tell you this is not sustainable, it's not ideal, the body is not designed for this, but you've got a whole bunch of cult members running around out here who have convinced themselves that this is really the way we were meant to be, when there's absolutely zero evidence to back this up. Okay, so this is an example of where I was saying in the beginning that I have realized I have been suffering from my own form of confirmation bias. I have been looking for something in this world that unfortunately I thought I found in this man. I thought that I found a person who was intelligent, who was well-read, who was logical. See, that's the thing. You have to be intelligent, well-read, and logical. You have to be capable of wading through the bullshit. If just because you get online and find somewhere where somebody says something is a good idea, doesn't make it a good idea. So this person the real reason that he's selling me on this diet doesn't have anything to do with my blood sugar. That doesn't even remotely make sense. The fact of the matter is he has his own confirmation bias. This, of course, is the diet he eats. This is the diet that he used to lose weight. So, of course, he's going to have a confirmation bias that his way of life is the best. He's on statins, so he recommends them to me. He's taking mint, so he recommends it to me. In the same way that I figured out that trenbolone is not hepatotoxic, kidney toxic, neurotoxic, fucking toxic anywhere. And so I have discovered that there are tremendously positive effects to trenbolone, and I recommend it to almost every single person that I come across. But the real reason that I'm Trenemy #1, wearing trenbolone hats and constantly talking about trenbolone, is because I am addicted to this substance. It works really well in my body. It has actually been, as hard as this is for you guys to believe, really good for my marriage. My wife and I were talking last night about my demeanor over the course of the past few months, starting a new job, going through some various ups and downs, and even she was capable to be objective enough to say, you know, things got better when you got on the Tren Ace. So whoever was in the comments the other day was like, oh my God, how terrible it must be to be married to this guy. Dear, did you not say last night that things leveled out when I started taking Tren Ace twice a day?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just kidding. Yes, absolutely, 100%. They leveled out when you changed to twice a day.
And isn't it fair, or let me not lead the witness, okay? Trenbolone has undeniably caused a lot of problems.
Yes.
It causes me to be very volatile at times. But in your honest opinion, and I want your honest opinion, I don't know what you're going to say here, is the net effect better than the alternative?
Yes, I think, because you've come a long way in a lot of things that were problematic before. They're no longer problems, and I think a lot of that has to do with your size and your confidence in the Tren play a significant role. But when you have gone off the Tren for periods of time, we tend to go back to some of those old places that were really bad for our marriage.
So I call that the beta version of me. She doesn't think I've ever been beta a day in my life. But relative to the state that I'm in now, I have a lot of beta type behaviors absent the presence of Trenbolone. But see, so the thing is that while even my wife is endorsing the use of this drug, I feel pretty certain that I feel pretty certain that I know what her answer is going to be to the next question. So because of the success that I've had with Trenbolone, would you recommend it to every married man in America?
0. I would recommend it to 0.
0. Even as good as Trenbolone has ultimately been for us, you would recommend it to no one.
The reason for that, yeah, correct. But
yes.
The reason for that is that we have done a lot of work to get through it, and to make it something good that I don't think everybody can do.
So the reality is that Trenbolone is a drug that has terrible, horrible, catastrophic side effects, almost identical to everything we have read online. It causes the Tren sweats. It can be a relationship killer. It causes extreme aggression, extreme sexuality. All of the negatives that we've read, aside from the supposed toxicities, the psychological, physical effects that are popularized about Trenbolone, we have experienced every single one of those. The difference is that to some greater or lesser degree, I learned to control them.
And I learned to deal with you on them.
And you learned to cope. So just because we happen to be in the middle of an absolute love affair in our marriage, I did not know it was possible to love a person as much as I love my wife right now. And I say right now because every day it only seems like it's getting better. To be falling in love with your wife more and more the older you get. If you're on my Instagram, you've seen it in the past couple of weeks. We have bonded in a way over the past 3 to 4 years that I didn't know was possible for two human beings to bond in that kind of way. I swear to God, it is like we are literally growing into each other and becoming one body, the way the Bible talks about. This is what is happening in my marriage every single day. The chances that it's going to happen in yours are very, very, very slim, because my wife and I are two of the most stubborn people on the face of earth, and we have found a way to take something that was an absolute dumpster fire in the beginning and turn it into a positive. The truth is, me and this woman could probably take just about anything and turn it into a positive, because that's who we are. That does not mean that I should be recommending it to every single person on earth. And I have said in all of my videos, I have never gotten on this camera and made a video about Trenbolone and pulled one single punch about the catastrophic side effects of it. One of my most popular videos is titled Trenbolone: A Love Affair. And in that video, it's like a 45-minute long video, give or take. I spent about 30 minutes talking about the negatives and 15 minutes talking about the positives. And people are just sending me messages every day saying how I inspired them to take Trenbolone. Okay, most of these people will not have the effects that I have had, and I've had countless people who decided to try Trenbolone come back to me and say, dude, I couldn't handle it. Happens every single day. So just because a diet, a drug, a therapy protocol, meditation, mindfulness. Just because one of those things works for somebody does not mean that they're going to work for everybody. And that is what makes me lose respect for somebody like Kovalser when he is sitting here recommending this diet as a way of life instead of as a treatment for obesity. He is recommending that someone adhere to a diet long term that is literally flushing money down the toilet. I have never in my life read one single medical study, article, or anything that said that eating keto is better than eating a perfectly balanced diet where you do not overeat any of your macros. I do not think there's a shred of evidence that for anybody on earth eating a perfectly healthy diet of only what you need is unhealthy for you. So what we all should be doing is managing our caloric intake. If you meet your macro goals, the chances of you being diabetic or all of these other things is 100% more or less going to come down to genetics. But you cannot rule out that, of course, there are going to be some people who tolerate fats better than carbs, maybe. Everyone's body is different. I'm never suggesting to the entire planet to drink 2 liters of Dr. Thunder a day. I don't think that's a good idea for the vast majority of people. It just happens to work really, really well for me. I still am having no blood sugar crashes at all, not one, since going back to 2 liters of Dr. Thunder a day. We've had lengthy adult interactions. We're going on walks. We went to the water park. I've gone to the gym, 0 blood sugar crashes since I went back to 2 liters of Dr. Thunder a day. So does that mean that everybody should run out and do it? No. Does everybody need to be on a statin and a beta blocker and an ARB and betaine hydrochloride and berberine and all the other, and mint and all the other bullshit this guy's hawking? Absolutely not. I think the objective should always be, I'm not even going to make that blanket statement, because for me, longevity has never, ever been the goal. I just put on my story the other day on, I'm not going to be able to, basically it was a Beth Dutton quote from the TV series Yellowstone, where she says, paraphrasing, life is not about longevity, it's about quality. I have always wanted to live the most quality life that I could live. I don't give a shit if that's 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years. However many years I can get living my life balls to the wall, that's what I want. I do not want to eat things that are undesirable. I don't want to have to do anything that doesn't make me feel good. And luckily for me, I have had very little problems doing whatever the hell I want to my body. I've abused street drugs, alcohol, steroids, you name it, I have abused it, and I still look like this. Clearly it is because I have phenomenal genetics. Is that going to be true of everyone? Absolutely not. My best friend and I used to work out together in our early 20s. We did the same exact workout routine. He was taking the same exact protein supplements. We were both using whatever it was, 10 grams of micronized creatine per day. We were basically doing the same exact thing, and my body looked totally different than his. No matter how hard he tried, he could not have the shoulders I have, the leanness that I have, none of it. He struggled with weight. He was never like a big fat guy, but he never had my level of leanness, vascularity, muscular definition. He used to say all the time, I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. He wasn't doing anything wrong. He just had different genetics. No matter how hard I try, I am never going to be Alex Rodriguez. I don't give a shit how many ground balls you hit me. I will never have that man's athletic ability. It is not in my cards. Making blanket statements about anything to do with the human body is by definition the stupidest thing you could possibly do, because every single human is different. I don't know how many times I have to say it on this channel. Lewis Black said it best. What is good and healthy for one person will kill the guy standing next to him. You cannot make blanket statements about health. And when I have someone that I thought I could trust to be objective, just day in, day out, parroting everything that other morons in this community have said. I just cannot continue to do what I have been doing and just blindly following this person's. I had gotten to a place where I quit looking things up. That's how bad it had gotten. And that's my own failure. I never, ever should have trusted another human being. I had gotten so dependent on this person's advice that before I even looked something up, I would just say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I gave him entirely too much control. And I put myself into a situation where I followed the advice of someone who told me to take mint at as high at anywhere from 5 to 25 milligrams a day, I think, when he knew before he recommended it that I was on 300 milligrams of Deca, 500 milligrams of testosterone, Masteron, Trenbolone, all of this crap. Before I even started the mint, he knew I was on all of those aromatizing compounds and still said, hey, I think you should give mint a try. Holy, this again is what I'm saying. The problem with the human animal, no matter whether you're a doctor, lawyer, whoever you are, it is nearly impossible for people to separate their own confirmation bias, their own. I run around telling everybody how great Trent is. The reality is that it's not good for everyone. He was running mint in a very low dose for completely different reasons, and it is beyond me how he could have possibly recommended any amount of that drug in the context that it was recommended in. And then when I started having problems with it, rather than say pull the drug out, it was no, well, get rid of the Deca. Knowing that it's going to take forever for the Deca to get out of my system. He didn't say get immediately off the mint, then take the Deca out, lower the test. And why? Like, I don't even want to do that. The whole thing was completely asinine. And I am so disappointed in myself that I allowed myself to ignore all of the research that I did, all of the articles that I read, all of the videos that I watched. I said in the beginning, I could not find a single solitary person, basically anywhere, that was saying mint was a good idea. No one was saying, oh man, this is the greatest drug ever. Everybody was talking about how horrible it is, how impossible it is to manage, and I took the shit anyway. And I hope, at a bare minimum, what all of you take away from this video is that I do not know what the fuck I am talking about for you. Vigorous Steve does not know what he's talking about. More plates, more dates, we are all just human beings having a human experience. At the end of the day, we are all guinea pigging our bodies with every single thing that we take. A doctor in the ER prescribed me a drug they probably prescribe millions of times a year. And for some tiny, minuscule percentage of people, it almost kills them. And I happen to be one of those people. I happen to be one of the very, very few people that augmentin can kill, can cause liver injury to the point of liver failure. Does that make the doctor an evil person because they prescribed it to me? No. How could they know I was going to be the one very unlucky person? At a minimum, admittedly, when I came to the hospital with all of the signs of drug-induced liver injury, they should have said, stop taking the augmentin. That's where they fucked up. They did not do that. But this is just an example of the fact that you can never trust anyone about anything implicitly because it's impossible for them to know what is going to happen to you. It is my son trusts me implicitly. And when I gave him a peanut M&M, he thought that was safe for him to eat. I thought it was safe for him to eat. I could not possibly know that I was potentially killing my son when I handed it to him because I didn't know he had a peanut allergy. I didn't know we were going to end up in the ER all night long because of one peanut. I could not possibly know that. So guys, stop asking other people for medical advice. Stop listening implicitly to other people tell you what is best for your body. They cannot possibly know. Do not follow in my footsteps and believe that some other human being, including myself, stop listening to me. I do not have all the answers. I'm not here to recommend to you what drugs to take and how much to take them. I have decided to completely stop coaching. I'm done coaching. Do not ask me for any more advice. about how to build your body, nothing. I am not recommending anything else to anybody else. This channel was never intended to be that. It was always supposed to be an outlet for me to express my experiences, what I did and how I did it. And then somewhere along the line, people started behaving like I had all the answers. I do not have all the answers. I can't help you. I thought I had it all figured out with cabergoline and Deca and Tren, and still, here we are, months down the road, I'm on Deca and Tren, and my prolactin level is still below the bottom, below the low end of the reference range without taking any cabergoline. Now, admittedly, I'm also not having any signs of high prolactin. But I don't know why my prolactin is not going back up. I don't know why suddenly I have to take 7 milligrams of Arimidex to control my gyno, which thankfully today is gone. So that means that I should have my estrogen in the toilet anytime now. But anyway, I'm rambling. I shot this video once before and they wouldn't post it, and so I decided to try this again. Kovalser, I had to be honest, brother. I had to. My channel has always been about me being honest about how I feel in various situations, and this is how I feel. This is how I feel. I cannot understand why in the world you would have recommended mint to me. If after having used mint, if I was going to send a drug to a person that I hated more than anything in the world, and I just wanted to F their shit up, mint would be the drug that I would send them. This is the single worst compound I have ever run, and I cannot understand for the life of me how you could have possibly recommended it in the context in which you recommended it. I'm not trying to attack you. I hope we can be friends after this, but I cannot continue to I cannot continue to blindly follow your medical advice or your diet advice or anything. From this point on, I have to take every single thing that comes out of your mouth with a grain of salt. I should have always been doing that, because this keto diet is the biggest train wreck I have ever seen in my life, and I cannot believe how many people in this country have fallen for this bullshit. It is unbelievable to me. But hey, if it works for you, then by all means have at it. As always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.